Hello, I'm Graham Norton. In 2016, Radio 2 broadcast a special series of 4 programmes about the music of Neil Tennant and Chris Lowe, aka Pet Shop Boys. Next Sunday at this time, Francis Barber looks back on the Pets' work for stage and screen, including their musical Closer to Heaven, their ballet The Most Incredible Thing, and their operatic work about codebreaker Alan Turing, A Man from the Future. Then Miranda Sawyer talks in depth to Neil and Chris about their albums Electric and Super. But back to this programme, and it's another chance to enjoy the story of their early years at Parlophone Records.
88 to 91 FM, BBC Radio 2.
In March 1986, Neil Tennant and Chris Lowe released their debut album, Please. As Pet Shop Boys, they would go on to sell more than 50 million records, including 40 top 20 singles and 4 UK number ones. And throughout that time, they've continued to walk a tightrope between pop and art, silliness and profundity. Hello, I'm Graham Norton, and welcome to a special programme charting the early work of the most successful British music duo of all time. Featuring an exclusive interview with Neil and Chris, we'll be revisiting their inventive and influential albums released on the iconic British label Parlophone. This is their story in their words. This is Pet Shop Boys documentary, The Parlophone Years.
I think what drew us together when we first met was music. That's what we first talked about. I mean, when we met, that was a pivotal time in music because sort of underground electronic music had just become pop music. Dare by the Human League, Soft Cell had just appeared, Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark, and Chris, to my horror, liked Imagination.
Still do.
And actually he was right to like them. And I was just being, I was remember a bit of a new wave snob. And also I'd bought a synthesizer and didn't really know what to do with it. So that was what really brought us together.
We're the Pet Shop Boys. We're the Pet Shop Boys.
Neil was working anyway. I was a student in architecture in Liverpool.
And when we were first going to make a record, Eric Watson, who was a friend of mine from Newcastle, and he did a lot of photography for Smash Hits. And this is when we went to New York to record with Bobby Orlando. And when we came back, he heard the songs we'd done. I think actually he was slightly astonished by them. And he was doing something with Epic, and he played the tape of these 3 songs to Gordon Charlton, who was an A&R man at Epic Records. And this was 1984.
I close my eyes and see you better than before. Then I feel you touch me and it's 1984. I know what you will say before you start. In my heart.
And with him, we did basically a one-off singles deal. This was the original version, West End Girls.
And we just thought, wouldn't it be great to have a single on 12-inch available in this dance music shop on Berwick Street Market? And we finally got that, so that was really our only goal at that point.
I've said it all before, I'll say it all again. We're all modern men. We've got no future, we've got no past. Here today, built to last in every city and every nation, from Lake Geneva to the Finland station. Our West End town, a dead end world. Meet East End boys and West End girls. Oh, West End town, a dead end world. East End boys, West End girls. West End girls.
We were very ambitious.
But Epic dropped us, they didn't sign the next single. And I remember saying to Chris that you had to have a manager, and I thought that Tom Watkins was a big character with a persuasive manner. And Tom Watkins had a band on the label EMI. We signed with them. One of the reasons we signed with them was because we thought he could get us a deal with EMI, which indeed he did. But we didn't want to be on the EMI label. They noticed I had EMI and Parlophone. We wanted to be on Parlophone. Firstly, because my Smash Hits journalistic background, I thought that EMI was a slightly naff label. And whereas I thought Parlophone had the cool history of, particularly, of course, the Beatles.
Oh, no, I was aware of the Beatles and the Parlophone logo and the pound sign and everything. In those days, I used to look at the singles, the 7-inch singles label quite a lot, and I was sort of Parlophone Pie, and a few others, and they sort of had a sort of certain day held sort of magic for you. So Parlophone was definitely one of those.
And so when we signed to EMI, and we insisted that we went on Parlophone. So this was in 1985, and I left Smash Hits, and Chris had finished his degree and come down to London. It was a standard record company deal in those days, which was for 7 albums. And I remember us thinking, like we'll ever make 7 albums. When we first started writing songs together in 1981, 82, I remember Chris saying to me, can't you make the words a bit more sexy? And we used to kind of wander around the streets of Soho, and I sort of saw what he meant rather than write poetic singer-songwriter stroke new wave lyrics, which is kind of what I wrote before I met Chris. So we wrote a lot of songs, and so when we signed to Parlophone, we actually had enough songs really for 2, if not 3 albums.
You can see I'm single-minded, I know what I could be. How do you feel about it? Come take a walk with me. I'm looking for a partner, regardless of expense. Think about it seriously, you know it makes sense. Let's make lots of money, yeah. You've got the brawn, I've got the brains. Let's make lots of money. I've got the brains, you've got the looks. Let's make lots of money.
And on the first album, Please, we decided it was like a journey. On the first song, 2 people run away.
2 divided by 0, 0, 2 divided by 0, 0, 0.
Let's not go home, we'll catch the late train. I've got enough money to pay on the way. When the postman calls, he'll deliver the letter. I've explained everything, it's better that way.
Divided by,
I think they heard a rumor, or someone tipped them off.
The lyrics of 2 divided by 0 were inspired by me and a girl I knew used to go and look at Newcastle Central Station at night and think about getting the train to London running away. And then you arrive in the West End with West End girls, and then you fall in love, and love comes quickly, and then you make money, and then tonight is forever, and then there's violence, and finally the 2 people decide they've had enough of the party and the pleasure, and they're going to live together and sort of settle down. So it's meant to be an emotional journey.
If only it had ended there, we'd all be happy.
But it didn't.
Love comes quickly, whatever you do, you can't stop falling. Love comes quickly, whatever you do, you can't stop falling. Love comes quickly, whatever you do, you can't stop falling.
Featuring some of the songs they'd worked on in New York with producer Bobby Orlando, the Pet Shop Boys' debut album, Please, was released in March 1986. It included a new version of West End Girls, and that single went on to win a Brit and an Ivor Novello Award. But who would produce Please?
Tom Watkins knew Stockcake and Waterman. I remember him talking about them, but we wanted Stephen Hague.
I can't remember any suggestion of Stockcake and Waterman. We definitely went with Stephen Hague as the producer of Please because we liked what he'd done with Malcolm McLaren on, what was the specific record?
Madam Butterfly.
Madam Butterfly.
We made West End Girls for Stephen Hague as a sort of experiment, and having made it, we said he should definitely do the album. Tom wasn't that keen. I don't even know if Parlophone were really, but I think they were surprised how tasteful it was, but we insisted that Stephen Hague did it, and so he did.
Sometimes you're better off dead. There's a gun in your hand, it's pointing at your head. You think you're mad, too unstable, kicking in chairs and knocking down tables in a restaurant in a West End town. Call the police, there's a madman around, running down underground to a dive bar in a West End town. In a West End town, a dead end world, the East End boys and West End girls. In a West End town, a dead end world, the East End boys and West End girls. West End girls. West End girls.
We were always into making everything feel special. The first single was number 1. The third single didn't even get in the top 10. And so we're thinking we need to really do something with Suburbia, which everyone thought should be a single.
Suburbia, that's a remake, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because we felt that we could take it further sonically or something. Or maybe we didn't feel that we'd spent enough time on it on the album version.
And so we remade it with a producer called Julian Mendelssohn. And we decided that it would be like an EP, and we would do, on the packaging, we'd do 1 track each. My track was called Jack the Lad, and Chris's track was Paninaro, which has become a bit of a Pet Shop Boys classic. And so we remade the track, and also we did a 12-inch version. And Eric Watson took the photographs and indeed made the video. And one of the photographs is a famous picture of Chris with the stripy glasses and the stripy T-shirt that he bought in Japan. And when I remember,
So it wasn't the video with David Alden?
It was David Alden styled it, but Eric made it.
Right. Well, just
Yes,
putting
no.
the facts right. I've
Yes.
remembered a fact, everyone. Let's get it out there.
Yes, no.
In the high street, where the dogs run, roaming suburban boys. Mother's got a hairdo to be done. She says they're too old for toys. Stood by the bus stop with a felt pen in this suburban hell. And in the distance, a police car to break the suburban spell. Let's take a ride and run with the dogs tonight in suburbia. You can't hide, run with the dogs tonight in suburbia.
And another reason why there was a lot of mixes of things is because in those days, record companies used to release different formats to drive a record up the charts.
Cynical marketing.
But you used to use that demand to do new things.
It's on the front page of the papers. This is their hour of need. Where's a policeman when you need one to blame the color TV? Let's take a ride and run with the dogs tonight in
We were always been prolific songwriters, and so we always liked the fact that you had an excuse to put new things out.
in suburbia, in suburbia, in suburbia. Run with the dogs.
Well, a song I would choose off the album Please would be Violence. We bought a PPG, which is a synthesizer, and has some really great sounds in it. That was used extensively on this track.
The son brother, when he gets home, he gives someone some love. And what's his woman, you'll never understand.
In September 1987, following the success of their debut album Please, which made the UK and American top 10s, the Pet Shop Boys released their second, the UK triple platinum album, Actually.
With this album, we wanted variety. We wanted a bigger sound than the first album. We wanted it to be more dancey. I mean, by this point, we're making this in early 1987. House music has arrived on the scene. You've had Daryl Pandy, Folly Jack Master Funk, and when we're hearing this music in clubs, and so the first track on the album, One More Chance, has the piano, and there's definitely a sort of house feeling coming into what we do.
Someone's been talking and I've got the blame. Chained, framed, you know what I mean. Push me in the corner and I'll scream. Just give me one more chance.
We do have quite a few songs to fall back on.
One more chance.
We've already written a lot of these songs before the first album. So One More Chance, the opening track, is a co-write with Bobby Orlando. And it originally to track Bobby Orlando, the backing track was written for Divine.
One more chance, give me one more chance, give me one more.
Something we always wanted to do right from the start, though, was to bring in real sounds and putting it under the music so it sounds filmic. So, for instance, It's a Sin, which starts with an entirely irrelevant quote from NASA of a rocket taking off. 2 minutes, 20 seconds. That thing sounds like the start of a film, and that's why we have that. It sounds like you're moving through landscapes. To emphasise your Catholicism, we go with Julie Mendelssohn to Brompton Oratory in Westminster Cathedral and record the ambience of them. We put them in the middle section of the song. You hear the ambience of Brompton Oratory, and it just gives this, again, rather filmic sound, like you're moving through landscapes.
Father, forgive me. I tried not to do it. Turned over a new leaf, then tore right through it. Whatever you taught me, I didn't believe it. Father, you fought me, 'cause I didn't care, and I still don't understand.
Well, the way we were working back then, we were kind of remaking demos, so we wanted someone who could polish kind of what we'd done and make a lot better what we'd done in our demos.
We're also increasingly interested by what you can do in a studio and exploring that with to create a bigger, more atmospheric production.
In those days, when you used to work in a proper studio, Salem West, it was slightly more, it was a bit more experimental. You could mess around a bit.
For weeks on end.
You know, and faff was the word we used to use. We could faff a lot. Rent actually was different. Rent was quite a few different metamorphoses. Because originally it was fast, wasn't it? Rent was
punk.
Rent was a fast song. It was almost high energy. And we realised we had too many of those. So Andy Richards at half speed did it, and that was good.
You dress me up, I'm your puppet. You buy me things, I love it. You bring me food, I need it. You give me love, I feed it. And look at the two of us in sympathy with everything we see. I never want anything, it's easy. You buy whatever I need. But look at my hopes, look at my dreams. The currency we'd spent. I love you, you pay my rent. You pay my rent.
We sort of did understand what the sound of contemporary pop in 1987 to 1988 was, because the dance music influence was very, very strong, but we had this strange production thing that was sort of like no one else, and it just seemed to work at the time.
It's easy, it's so easy.
This is a good amount of luck in all of this as well, you know. But I think we had good songs, and we had the confidence to follow our own instincts. From the album, actually, I'm going to choose the final track, which is called King's Cross, which I still think is one of the best songs we've ever written. This is in the period of Thatcherism, and this album was received when it came out by rock critics as a statement about Thatcherism, which was quite interesting. It didn't occur to us while we were making it. But when you looked at it, rent, shopping, about money, the money culture, it couldn't happen here. It's about the AIDS crisis which had arrived. And King's Cross was, though, meant to be a sort of a symbol, a hymn to the people who were getting left out by Thatcherism.
Only last night I found myself lost by the station called King's Cross, dead and wounded on either side. You know it's only a matter of time. I've been good and I've been bad. I've been guilty of hanging around. Someone told me Monday, someone told me Saturday. Wait until tomorrow and there's still no way. Read it in a book or write it in a letter. Wake up in the morning and there's still no guarantee.
We decided on the second album also to bring in a dance producer. And we approached this American dance producer called Shep Pettibone, who for many years people thought was an anagram of Pet Shop Boys. We learned with him a sort of different way of looking at the making of a record in terms of what it would sound like on a dance floor.
And dance would be central to the Pet Shop Boys' third studio album. Released in October 1988 on CD, cassette, remember them, and a limited edition 12-inch vinyl set. It was called Introspective.
The concept for Introspective was just 6 12-inch mixes, and if we were going to release them as a single, we'd then edit them down. But the starting point would be to make long versions of the songs. Because we were making records here for the dance floor, not for radio. Also, looking at this, we were really into the big label on the vinyl, which was probably the main reason for doing it. Knowing us, I Want a Dog was very exciting because we worked with Frankie Knuckles for the first time, which was amazing. We were in New York and we went to, where was the studio?
Jersey City.
And he played us what he'd been working on. It was just fantastic. So much bass and everything. So that was a real highlight of making this record.
I want a dog to walk in the park. When it gets dark, my dog will bark at any passers-by. You can get lonely. I want a dog.
Introspective was our most successful album in terms of sales. And we've met Trevor Horn in Psalm West Studios, which he owned, in fact. And he's agreed to work with us. We were always obsessed by Trevor Horn's record, Slave to the Rhythm, which he made with Grace Jones, of course, which is still one of my favourite records. And we'd written this song called Left to My Own Devices. And Trevor had this amazing idea that we would record it in one day, and we would record it live. Anyway, we thought, great idea. Well, of course, it famously took 6 months to make. We were really enthralled by these sort of long dance arrangements you could do.
It's not a crime when you look the way you do, the way I like to picture you. When I get home, it's later tonight. I pour a drink and watch the fight. Turn off the TV, look at a book, pick up the phone, fix some food. Maybe I'll sit up all night and day, waiting for the minute I hear you say, I could leave you, say goodbye.
Throughout our career, we have been interested and enjoyed listening to Latin pop music. The first guy we ever worked with said, "Oh, I like the Latin rhythms," and we didn't even know what he meant. And what he meant was ding, 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 which has always been a sort of instinctive Pet Boys thing. We wanted to do is to see if you could make an album where every single track was a hit single. With Julian, we redid Always on My Mind to make this extremely long version in my house, because of course we're doing house music.
You are always on my mind. You are always in my house.
We've made the hit single with Patsy Kensit, Fake Thunder, I'm Not Scared. We decided to do our own version. And actually 5 out of these 6 tracks were hits, admittedly one of them not by us, I'm Not Scared. And we went to Miami and did this record with all these Cuban musicians, which became Domino Dancing.
All day, all day, all day.
So we sort of achieved that. What Tom Watkins has to do is persuade EMI that this is what they call a contract album, because it's only got 6 tracks on. But as we said at the time, station to station, but David Bow's only got 6 tracks on it. And they accepted it. The American record business in those days, I mean, there are books written about it. There's a famous book called Hitmen about record promotion, where money changed hands, and I don't know that we were playing the game right. For a period of 3 years, we had a stream of hits in America. West End Girls was number 1. Or I Don't Deserve This was number 2 or something. What Was On My Mind was a huge hit. It's a Sin was top 10 hit. And we were all over MTV, which was the big thing in those days. Domino Dancing was the last one. People have said to us since that the video for Domino Dancing was sort of homoerotic, and that put MTV off. To be fair to MTV, they did play it though. I don't know. It's always been a mystery. Maybe they just had enough of us. But the moment was there, and then it wasn't there.
I don't know why, I don't know how. Thought I loved you, but I'm not sure now. Seen you look at strangers too many times. The love you want is of a different kind. All day, all day. Watch them all fall down. All day, all day. Domino dancing. All day, all day. Watch them all fall down. All day, all day. Domino dancing.
But you know what? That's pop music. It's fair enough. And we started off in America as a cult band, and we went back to being a cult band. In 91, we toured America, and we've toured America on every tour ever since. And we still have quite a following there.
It's alright.
Well, a song I would choose, It's All Right. I've not heard it for ages. This is far closer to the original Sterling Void song. This brings back happy memories of going to house music events around London.